The Empress was small, only 3 feet tall, but her presence filled the giant hall with pride and arrogance. Her golden crown sparkled under the blue alien lights, her thin arms raised high as she stood on the floating royal platform. Thousands of alien soldiers stood below, waiting to hear her voice, waiting to cheer her words. Empress Jirani looked down at them all, then narrowed her eyes toward the small human standing near the palace wall. "Look at that creature," she said loudly, her voice echoing through the high stone walls. So soft, so slow, so very. Fragile laughter exploded across the crowd. She raised a finger toward the human. "That is what the Earthlings sent us. An engineer to fix our defense grid. A human toy with tools." The human didn't respond. He just adjusted his toolkit and continued his quiet inspection of the wires behind the throne panel. His name was Logan Reed, and he didn't care much for politics. He came to the Empress's palace only to complete the repairs as ordered. The humans and the Zirali Empire had a fragile peace agreement, and this job was part of that treaty. But Jirani continued mocking, her voice sharper now. "Humans, your kind survives by luck, not strength," she said with a smirk. "You build things, but you cannot fight." She turned back to her audience. "Our empire stands strong because we value power, not mercy." More cheers, more laughter. Logan ignored it. He was used to being looked down upon by other species, especially royalty. But in his heart, he knew something they didn't. Humans didn't break easily. They endured, they adapted, they survived. Suddenly, a loud thrum shook the ground. The floating platform wobbled, lights blinked, and a deep alarm filled the hall. The laughter stopped, replaced by silence. "What is this?" Jirani asked, confused. Logan looked up sharply. Pulling a small scanner from his tool belt, he read the data fast. "It's not a drill," he muttered. "It's a real attack." Boom! An explosion ripped through the left wing of the palace, sending fire and smoke into the hall. Screams followed, soldiers running, guards pushing one another to escape. The Empress stood frozen, eyes wide. Her royal guards already gone. "Protect the Empress!" Someone shouted, but no one returned. She was alone, standing on her trembling platform. A second explosion sent the floating platform crashing to the marble floor. She fell, landing hard, dust and sparks flying around her. Logan didn't hesitate. He dropped his tools, sprinted toward the wreckage, and climbed over the burning pieces. He found her lying under part of a broken column, her body shaking. Her voice came out small. "Help me." Without speaking, he pulled the debris off her, lifted her carefully into his arms, and turned away from the crumbling hall. "Don't touch me," she protested weakly. "You are beneath me." "Then stay here and burn," he replied, calmly, turning around. Her small hands clutched his shoulder quickly. "No. Wait." He nodded. "That's what I thought." And with that, he carried her through the smoke-filled corridors, one arm shielding her, the other guiding their way. Outside the palace, enemy ships circled the skies, drones scanning for survivors. The Zirali capital was under full attack. Logan ran toward the maintenance tunnel he saw earlier in the blueprints, the only exit that wasn't guarded or bombed. Jirani clung to him, coughing, too shocked to speak. Her golden crown had fallen, her royal robes torn and dirty. The Empress, who once mocked the human, was now completely at his mercy. As they reached the tunnel, Logan stopped for a second. Checked behind him, no one followed. Then he looked down at her. Their eyes met. Her voice was small, shaken. "Why? Would you help someone like me?" He didn't answer. He just adjusted her weight in his arms, turned into the tunnel, and whispered, "Because that's what humans do." Logan's boots hit the steel floor of the tunnel with heavy steps. Every echo bounced off the metal walls. Like a heartbeat, fast and loud, he held the Empress tight in his arms. Her tiny frame, light but trembling, smoke followed them. Crawling down the hallway like a hungry shadow, Jirani kept her eyes wide, alert, confused. Her mind, once sharp and proud, was now full of fear and questions. She had never seen battle, never smelled burning blood, and now she was covered in it. "You should not carry me," she whispered, her voice trying to be royal again. Logan didn't answer. He just kept running. Behind them, another explosion shook the world. A ceiling panel dropped and crashed behind them, almost blocking the way out. Jirani gasped and clung tighter to Logan's shirt, her pride forgotten for a moment. He grunted, pushed forward, and turned into a side shaft. They reached a rusty service door, the kind forgotten by time. Logan kicked it open. Cool air rushed in, and the smell of trees and damp soil filled their lungs. They had reached the outer edge, the jungle wastelands. "Hold on," he muttered. Stepping out into the darkness, the stars above were hidden behind clouds, and the trees were thick, their roots like claws in the dirt. Jirani spoke again, softer this time. "You knew this path?" Logan nodded, studied the blueprints. "Always plan for failure. Humans. Always afraid things will go wrong." "No," he said, his tone flat. "Just smart enough to know they might." She looked away, feeling small in more ways than size. No guards, no throne, no power, and still this human carried her without question as they moved deeper into the jungle. Logan finally stopped near a broken stone arch, covered in moss. He placed her down gently, then scanned the area with a small device. No tracking signals nearby. "We're clear for now." Jirani looked around. Vines, glowing insects, wild air. Her royal life had never touched such places. She sat silently while Logan used a pocket tool to cut branches and make a quick shelter. He moved with focus, fast and quiet, like a man who had done this before, many times. "Who trained you?" she asked suddenly. He paused, then replied, "No one, just survived enough times to learn." Jirani lowered her eyes, back in the hall. "You said that's what humans do," she said slowly. "What did you mean?" Logan sat down on a rock, not facing her directly. "We help, even if we're mocked, even if we're hated, because life matters." He took a deep breath. "I saw a Zirali girl die once in a border conflict, and no one helped her. I swore that day I wouldn't let another die just because she's not human." Jirani felt something strange in her chest. Not fear, not pride. It was shame. "Do you hate me?" she asked quietly. Logan looked at her, his face unreadable. "No," he said. After a moment, "But I hated what you said about us." She nodded, her voice dry. "I didn't understand. I only repeated what I was taught." "You were taught wrong," he said calmly. Then turned back to building the shelter. Time passed slowly. The night deepened. Jirani wrapped her arms around herself, cold now that the adrenaline faded. She looked at Logan again, crouched near a fire starter device, sparks dancing in the dark. "Why are you like this?" she asked. Logan raised an eyebrow. "Like what kind?" To someone who doesn't deserve it, he lit the fire, warm light filling the space. "Because someone once saved me too," he said, "and they didn't think I deserved it either." Jirani stayed quiet. The fire flickered in her eyes, and for the first time, she didn't feel like an empress. She felt like a person, a small, scared person who was starting to understand the truth. "You should rest," Logan said, tossing her a wrapped ration. "We move at sunrise." She took the food slowly, then whispered, "Thank you, Logan." He didn't say anything back, but he gave a small nod, and for her, that was enough, as the jungle sang its night song. And the fire crackled low. Jirani curled up beside the warmth, eyes heavy but heart awake. She had once called his kind weak. Now she was alive because of one, and something inside her whispered, maybe humans weren't weak after all. Maybe they were something far stronger. The jungle was alive. Strange glowing plants twisted around tree trunks, and odd animal sounds echoed in the shadows. But something else moved in the dark, something that wasn't part of nature. Logan crouched low, eyes narrowed, one hand on the small scanning device. The screen pulsed red. "We're not alone," he whispered. Empress Jirani sat behind a thick root, her small hands clenched tight. "What is it?" she asked, voice trembling but trying to sound brave. "Hunters," Logan replied. "The enemy sent search drones, and worse." She stared at him, unsure what could be worse than drones. Just then, a sharp clicking noise came from the trees. Logan's head turned quickly. He grabbed Jirani's arm gently, pulling her along the muddy ground toward cover. A vine wall hid the entrance to a ruined alien temple, forgotten and half-buried by time. Inside, it was quiet. Cold stone walls surrounded them, with cracks big enough for light to pass through. Jirani looked around, her heart pounding. "This place is ancient," she whispered. Logan gave a short nod. "Old war site. From before your empire even existed." Outside, the clicking grew louder, closer, through one of the cracks. Jirani saw a terrifying shape. It looked like a beast, but it had metal limbs and glowing red eyes. Half machine, half predator, the enemy's tracker unit. Jirani froze, her breath stuck in her throat. Her body refused to move. Logan gently placed a hand on her shoulder. "Stay quiet," he said softly. "It can't smell us, but it can hear heartbeat vibrations." She looked at him with wide eyes. "You're calm." "How?" "I've seen worse," he replied. "I survived a death swamp on Cyrex 9 with just a wrench." His small smile was meant to be comforting, but she couldn't imagine what kind of world he came from. Then, disaster struck. Jirani stepped back and her foot hit a loose stone. Click, a pressure trap activated, and a needle shot up into her leg. She gasped in pain and fell to the ground. Logan rushed to her, grabbed her leg, and broke the needle clean off, but her body was already reacting, her leg going numb fast. "It was poisoned," she muttered, teeth clenched. "Not poison," Logan corrected, pulling out a med patch from his belt. Paralysis agent meant to slow prey. He wrapped her leg fast, but she could no longer stand. She looked up at him, anger mixed with fear. I can't move. I'll slow you down. Then I'll carry you again," he said, like it was obvious. "No," she whispered. "You'll die because of me." He met her eyes and said firmly, "I don't leave people behind." Before she could argue, the sound of metal claws scraped against the temple wall. The hunter was sniffing closer now. Logan picked her up, holding her tight against his chest, and backed into the shadows of the ruins. Step by step, heartbeat by heartbeat, they moved deeper inside, using the broken stone for cover. At one point, the hunter passed only inches from their hiding spot. Jirani held her breath, feeling Logan's pulse through his chest. Even now, carrying her, he didn't shake, he didn't break, he just moved. And she realized, humans were terrifying in their calm. Once the danger passed, Logan ran again. This time through the back exit of the ruins, an old maintenance tunnel buried under roots. Jirani whispered, "Why are you doing this?" He answered while running, "Because I made a promise that I'd never be like the ones who ran." Suddenly, he tripped. Falling forward, Jirani rolled out of his arms and landed with a soft thud. He groaned, blood dripping from a cut on his arm. "You're hurt," she cried, crawling toward him. "I'm fine," he grunted, trying to stand. But she placed her small hand on his. "No," she said. "Let me do something for you this time." She pulled a small silver pin from her robe, a royal emergency needle. It glowed with soft light. "I activate this. It will heal your wound." "But it will drain me." "Then don't," he said quickly. "I must," she replied. Because you carried me through death. She pressed the pin to his arm. And a flash of warmth spread through his skin. The bleeding stopped, and the pain faded. Jirani collapsed beside him, weak but smiling. You are not weak, Logan, she whispered. You are strength in its truest form. He looked at her, this tiny royal who had once insulted all humans, now laying beside him. Risking herself to heal him, in that moment, something shifted between them. Not just respect, but connection. Outside, the hunters howled in frustration. Their targets had escaped again. But inside the tunnel, surrounded by stone and shadows, a human and an alien empress were no longer strangers. They were survivors, hunted together. Bound by fear, fire, and something neither of them fully understood yet trust, the sun had disappeared. The jungle air turned cold and heavy. Mist rose from the wet ground, and the night sky was completely covered in dark clouds. There was no moonlight, only the faint green glow from the plants around them. Logan stepped carefully through the undergrowth, his arms still sore but working. He carried Jirani once again. Her body weaker now from the healing pulse she used on him. She didn't complain, she didn't protest. She just rested quietly against his chest, her head near his heartbeat. They found a half-buried tower, broken and leaning against the cliffside. It had once been a signal relay, but now it was just metal bones. Logan kicked open the rusted hatch and stepped inside. Cool steel walls surrounded them, safer than the open jungle at least. He gently placed Jirani down on a small corner bench. She winced from the pain in her leg, but didn't cry out. He lit a small heating pod and placed it between them. Orange light filled the room, casting shadows on her face. You okay? He asked, sitting down beside her. She nodded slowly. My body hurts, but not as much as my pride, she whispered. Logan looked at her, confused. Back in my palace, she continued, I said humans were weak, soft. Now, I realize I never knew what true strength looked like. Logan didn't speak. He just stared into the heat pod's gentle flame. Jirani pulled her thin robe tighter, her small body shivering. Without a word, Logan removed his jacket, torn and dirty but still warm. He placed it around her shoulders. She looked up, shocked. You'll be cold. I've been colder, he replied, then smiled slightly. Besides, you're the empress, remember? She held the jacket close, surprised by the scent, not foul, but earthy, real. It was the scent of someone who worked, someone who lived through chaos. She had never been this close to a human before. Not like this. Not when both were just people. A long silence followed. Then Jirani broke it, her voice softer than ever. My mother died when I was 5, she said. She was strong, brave, but she was poisoned by her own counsel. Logan looked at her, eyebrows raised. Jirani continued. My father made me empress too early, and he filled my head with stories about humans, that you were tools, not allies. She turned to him, her eyes glossy. But now? I wonder if I ever knew anything real at all. Logan took a deep breath. My sister died during an alien raid, he said. She was delivering medicine to wounded soldiers, both human and alien, when a drone hit her, Jirani's eyes widened. Was it one of ours? Logan nodded. Probably, but I don't blame you. Not anymore. There was silence again, but now it felt different, heavy, emotional, honest. Jirani leaned back against the cold wall. Do humans always risk themselves like this? For others? Not always, Logan said, but the good ones do. Her eyes searched his face. Then you are one of the good ones, she whispered. Logan didn't know what to say to that, so he said nothing. The heating pod flickered. The only warmth in the broken structure, Jirani began to drift into sleep. Her voice barely audible. You didn't just save my life, Logan. You showed me what it means to live. Her eyes closed, and for the first time in days, she rested peacefully. Logan remained awake, watching the entrance, listening for danger, but in his heart, something had changed. This wasn't just a mission anymore. He wasn't just carrying an empress. He was carrying someone who had been lied to her whole life. Someone who was learning to feel for the first time. By the time morning light crept through the cracks in the wall, Scarani opened her eyes and tried to sit up. I need to walk, she said. You still can't, Logan warned. I have to try, she insisted. I won't be carried forever. With great effort, she stood. Wobbling on her injured leg, she took one small step, then another, and nearly fell. Logan caught her, but not to lift her, just to steady her. She looked up at him, proud and stubborn. I want to move forward. Like you do. Logan gave a small smile. Then I'll walk beside you, he said. Outside, the day had begun, but trouble still waited. The enemy was still hunting them, and the path to safety was still long. But inside the broken tower, an empress had taken her first real step, not as a ruler, not as royalty, but as someone who was finally learning what it meant to be strong, and the human who had once been nothing in her eyes was now everything between her and the dark. The morning light didn't feel warm. It was pale, cold, and silent, the kind of silence that makes your skin feel thin. Logan and Jirani moved slowly through the thick vines and wet ground. Her leg was still weak, but she walked with determination. He stayed close, one hand near his weapon, the other ready to catch her if she fell. They didn't speak much. Words had become heavy, and every step forward meant danger could be behind the next tree. Logan checked the scanner again. A blinking green dot appeared. It was the emergency beacon from a human outpost. We're close, he said. Just a few clicks east. Jirani tried to smile, her face tired, her body aching. We'll make it, she whispered. We have to. But fate had other plans before they could take another step. A sudden hum filled the air. Jirani turned her head and froze. Logan's eyes went wide. A ring of drones surrounded them, hovering silently, red lights blinking like warning eyes. Get down, Logan shouted, pulling Jirani to the ground, but it was too late. From the trees above, 3 enemy soldiers dropped with stunning speed. They wore dark armor and moved like shadows. One slammed Logan to the ground, knocking the scanner from his hand. Another grabbed Jirani roughly, forcing her to her knees. Logan tried to fight back. He threw a punch, elbowed one in the jaw, but a sharp jolt from a shock baton dropped him. He fell hard, groaning, his vision blurring. Jirani screamed. Stop. Leave him alone. The leader of the group stepped forward, a tall female warrior with cruel eyes. Well, well, she said with a grin. The lost empress. And her little pet human, she tilted her head, mockery in her voice. You let him carry you. How pathetic. Jirani raised her chin, though her hands trembled. He saved me, when all of you ran. She hissed. The warrior laughed. You think that earns him mercy. She stepped forward and kicked Logan in the side. Jirani lunged forward, trying to shield him. Please, she said, her voice shaking. Take me. Just let him go. The enemy leader stared at her, amused. Are you begging for a human? Jirani didn't answer, her silence louder than any scream. The warrior turned to her troops. Take them both, but make sure the human suffers. As they were dragged through the jungle, Logan coughed blood. Jirani leaned close, whispering, I'm sorry. I should have listened from the start. He tried to smile, weakly. You're listening now. They were thrown into a metal cage, deep inside an enemy transport ship. It was cold, dark, and smelled like rust and despair. Jirani knelt beside Logan, who lay on the floor, bruised and pale. She pulled the jacket tighter around him. I will get us out, she whispered. Even if I have to trade my crown. Logan opened one eye. You don't need a crown to lead. You just did. Hours passed, but then a chance, a power flicker, a small alarm. Something was wrong with the ship. An explosion rocked the rear engines. The guards panicked, shouting in confusion. Smoke filled the cage room. Jirani didn't waste a second. She crawled to the control panel, pulled a pin from her hair. It wasn't just decoration. It was old royal tech, a command override key. She jammed it into the lock and whispered the activation code. Click, the cage opened. Logan, we're going, she said, lifting him up with all her strength. He leaned on her, barely standing, but still alive. You're stronger than you look, he whispered. She smiled. That's what you said to me. They moved down the hallway, smoke covering their path. Just before reaching the exit ramp, 2 enemy guards appeared. Weapons ready, Jirani stepped in front of Logan without thinking, arms wide. Stop, she shouted, her voice filled with command. They froze, surprised. I am your empress, and I command you to drop your weapons. One of them hesitated. Empress, you were declared dead? Well, I'm not, she growled. And if you harm this human, I'll make sure your names are erased from history. The guards glanced at each other, then slowly lowered their weapons. Jirani nodded. Now get out of my way. She walked past them with Logan, her chin high, her back straight. No throne, no crown, but every step was royal. She wasn't just being brave, she was being true, as they exited the ship into the jungle again. Logan looked at her with new eyes. You just saved us both. Jirani helped him sit against a tree and smiled. Now we're even. He shook his head slowly. No. Now we trust each other. The wind passed softly, like the world had paused to witness what had just happened. The Empress, who once called humans weak, had now risked everything to protect one. And in doing so, she had earned more than power. She had earned honor. The jungle felt different now. The danger was still there. Wild creatures, enemy patrols, the cold, but something had changed. The tiny Empress no longer walked like a queen above all. She walked like someone who had learned what it meant to care, to protect, and to sacrifice. Logan leaned on her shoulder, his strength slowly returning. They were bruised, bleeding, and exhausted, but they were alive, and more importantly, they were together by noon. They reached a rocky cliffside where the emergency beacon signal grew stronger. Jirani climbed the slope carefully, helping Logan step by step as they reached the top. They spotted the human outpost built inside a mountainside. It was small but heavily guarded. Several humans stood near the gate. Armored and alert, weapons in hand, Jirani's heart beat faster. She had never seen so many humans in one place. All of them looked serious, battle-worn, but alive with something she now recognized. Strength, not of muscle, but of spirit. One soldier stepped forward. Gun raised. Halt. Identify yourselves. Jirani stood tall, helping Logan keep his balance. We come in peace, she said clearly. He saved me, and I have come to speak with your leaders. Another soldier walked over, recognizing Logan's face. That's Reed. He was reported missing 3 days ago. They lowered their weapons quickly and helped him inside, but when they saw Jirani, their faces changed. Whispers started. Is that the alien Empress? She's the one who mocked us. Why is she with him? Ronnie heard it all. But she stayed silent. Inside the base, Logan was taken for medical treatment. Jirani sat alone in a side room, 2 guards watching her. She didn't ask for comfort. She didn't demand respect. She just waited, thinking, remembering every step, every choice. An hour later, the door opened. A tall human commander walked in. Stern face, gray streaks in his beard. He sat across from her and folded his arms. You're the Empress of the Zirali Empire, he said. Jirani nodded. I was, she replied softly. Now? I'm someone else. The commander narrowed his eyes. You mocked us at the Treaty Palace. Said we were weak. I did, she admitted, because I believed lies. And because I had never met a human like Logan, the commander didn't. Reply, so she continued. He carried me when I was helpless. He protected me when my own guards ran. And he treated me like a person when I didn't deserve it. She took a deep breath. I didn't come here as a ruler, she said. I came here to tell you that I am ready to speak truth to my people and to yours. The commander leaned forward, curious now. What truth? Jirani looked him straight in the eye, that humanity is not weak. It is powerful in the one way that matters most, in the heart. He stared at her for a long time, then nodded, slowly. I'll send your words to Earth Command, he said. But peace doesn't come easy. She smiled faintly. Nothing worth saving ever does. Later that night, Logan stood outside the outpost's observation deck. His arm bandaged, his eyes on the stars. He heard footsteps behind him, soft and familiar. Jirani walked up beside him, wearing a simple robe given by the humans. No crown, no armor, just her. You clean up well, Logan joked. She smiled. And you look less broken. They stood silently for a while, watching the sky. Finally, she spoke. I gave my first real command today. Logan looked at her. Oh. I told my empire that the war ends now, she said, her voice steady. I told them I stand with humanity. Logan's eyebrows rose. That's a dangerous move. She nodded. Yes. But the right one? She turned toward him. Her eyes serious. When I mocked you, I thought I understood strength. But I didn't know anything, Logan, she continued. Not until you picked me up from the fire. And never put me down. Logan looked at her, his voice quiet. You would have done the same. She shook her head. Not before, she whispered, but now. I would do it for you, he smiled. Not the usual tired smile, but one full of something new, trust, respect, maybe even affection. I believe you, he said. The stars above them blinked gently, like the universe itself had paused to listen. Jirani leaned closer, her voice soft but firm. I don't know what comes next, but I want to walk it beside you. Logan didn't answer right away. He simply extended his hand, and she placed hers inside it. For the first time, they stood as equals, not human and alien, not soldier and royal, but as two people who had walked through fire and chosen hope. Weeks passed. The war between the Zirali Empire and Earth did not restart. Because someone had spoken, someone unexpected. Empress Jirani, once proud, once arrogant, now stood on the communication deck of the United Council ship. Not in royal robes, not on a floating throne, but in a simple white suit. With a silver patch on her chest, half her royal crest, and half the Earth symbol. The galactic audience watched from across 100 star systems. Jirani stood before the cameras, her voice calm and clear. I once believed that humanity was weak, she said, but one human changed everything I knew. She paused, remembering the fire, the jungle, the pain, and the arms that carried her out of it all. Humanity, she continued, is not powerful because of weapons or numbers. It is powerful because of heart. Across Earth and Zirali colonies, millions watched in silence. Even Logan, now resting in the Earth Embassy medical bay, watched the broadcast on a small screen. He smiled quietly as she spoke those words after the speech. Peace talks reopened. This time, Jirani wasn't just a figurehead. She was a bridge between two worlds, two species, and maybe something more. One quiet evening, the Empress walked through the embassy garden on Earth. Her steps were slow, her eyes thoughtful. She wore no crown, just a soft green cloak and boots made by human hands. Near the tall tree by the water fountain, Logan waited, arms crossed. His face relaxed. When he saw her, he smiled. "You made quite the speech," he said. Shirani nodded. "Do you think they believed me?" "I think they believed you believed." Logan replied. "And that's what matters." She stepped closer, her hands behind her back. "I wanted to see you before I returned." "Returned where?" he asked, surprised. "To my people," she said softly, "to teach them everything I learned." "The hard way." He looked away. "Eyes on the fountain. Seems like you've grown taller since we met." She chuckled. "I think you just started." Looking at me differently. A gentle silence followed. Then she said, "I don't want to go back alone." Logan turned toward her. "Jirani, you know I can't be part of your empire. I'm not asking you to be part of my empire." She whispered, "I'm asking if I can be part of your world." He blinked, the strong, unshakable human who had carried her through fire. Looked lost for a second. Then he smiled. "You already are." She took a slow step forward. "I want to stay here. Not just as a diplomat," she said, "but as someone who belongs with you," she added, voice almost breaking. Logan reached out and gently took her hand, his fingers wrapped around hers. "Warm and steady, you carried me through the hardest part of my life," she said. "Now let me carry something to your burdens. Your future." He looked into her eyes, no longer proud and sharp, but wise, brave, and full of love. "You sure about this?" he asked. "Absolutely," she said without pause. "I chose you, Logan. Not as a protector, not as a soldier, but as the person I want beside me." Logan didn't need more words. He simply pulled her close and rested his forehead against hers. They stood there as night settled over the earth. Stars shining like quiet witnesses, a tiny empress and a quiet human. Later, in the Earth's council chambers, Jirani made one last request. She removed the crown from her bag, the one she once wore with pride, and placed it on the table. "I no longer wish to rule from a throne," she said. "I wish to lead by walking beside others." The humans in the room nodded. The message was clear. The Empress had chosen humanity, not just politically, but personally. And back at the garden, she sat with Logan beneath the tall tree. He handed her a warm drink, and she held it carefully in both hands. She smiled and looked up. At him, "You still see me as royalty?" He shook his head with a grin. "No, I see you as mine." She laughed, small and sweet. "Good," she whispered, "because I'm not going anywhere." The Empress, who once mocked humanity, had been saved by a human, protected by him, changed by him, and finally had chosen him, not because he was strong, not because he had power, but because he had a heart big enough to carry her through the fire. And in the end, that was all she needed.